Hey everybody, and welcome to Thriving LDS Singles. We're so excited to have you here. I'm Kay and my co-host Kim. Hi Kim.
Hello.
And today we've thought of something a bit different to do. We're going to basically interview me.
There you go.
Yeah. And if you've watched some of our recent episodes, you'll realise that I've been travelling around Australia in my motorhome. And so Kim was sort of asking me all these questions about my trip, and we thought that that might be fun for everybody to hear.
Yeah.
So I bought a motorhome when COVID first hit, which is an odd time to buy a motorhome. No, it actually was a very common thing.
Perfect timing. It was perfect timing, right?
Yeah. And so I bought my motorhome and travelled around wherever COVID wasn't, which was really fun. So I had a wonderful time travelling around. And then, of course, for different circumstances, I stopped traveling. And so this trip I've just done over the last few weeks has the first trip I've done for a couple of years in my motorhome. It actually, I got into my motorhome, and because it's all set up, it's all ready to go. I didn't have to do very much other than take my clothes, which is one of the joys of motorhoming.
Yeah.
But the first day I was like, oh, I've forgotten how to do this. Oh, where do I do that? Where's this? So yes. Oh,
I was just going to ask that. What amenities do you have in your motorhome?
Yeah, so I've got a very comfortable motorhome. It's 24 foot or 7 meters, depending on which you use, which means it's fairly big, right? And so I've got a bathroom, so a shower and a separate toilet. I've got like quite a nice kitchen with a decent sized fridge. 4 gas burner stove,
Does it have a separate bedroom, or is your kitchen table your bedroom?
No, that's one of the things that I wanted, is that a bed that I don't have to make up each night. And so this particular one has like a really nice area that's like couches around a table, and the bed actually is electric, so it's above that. And so I press a button and the bed comes down and it sits on top of the table. So I don't have to do anything. Yeah, very cool. So I've got a really nice lounge area that I can sort of enjoy and have other people come and do things with me. And then I just pull my bed down and it's all ready to just hop into.
Very nice. And you take your little furry friend.
I take my furry friend. I don't know where he is right now. Yeah, so he can't jump on the bed. I have to actually put him up on the bed, but he's learned how to jump down from the bed, which was so, because the couch is underneath it, he learned to go off the other side and jump down the couch and then go underneath the bed.
Yeah, that's good.
And then he would say, time to get up. It's like, oh,
he cries to get back up, or you have to get up.
Yeah, that's right. So yes, it's a very comfortable. So on this particular trip, I want
to ask you a question first. How is it traveling with an animal, like temperature wise, leaving him to go places, stuff like that? How do you navigate that? Is that a pain in the neck? Because that's what I would always worry about. I would love to take Ellie, but
it does mean you have to think about it. But this particular trip where I traveled, it was actually quite cool. So from the heat point of view, that wasn't a problem.
Oh, that's good.
When I've traveled where it's been hot, you do have to think about it more. And one cute little story, I went into a shop to buy food, right? And I had taken him out of the van because it was very hot, and I'd tied him to a chair in the shade, right? And I was in this shop buying things, and someone said, hey, whose dog's stuck to a chair? And I'm like, oh, they're going to yell at me about the fact I've left him tied to a chair. But no, what he got annoyed about, and he knows that buildings are air conditioned inside, and he had pulled the chair around the veranda inside the shop. He could have the air conditioning.
So the chair was outside because it wouldn't come through the door, but he was inside. That's funny.
Well, no, I'd had one of those, like opening doors. So someone was open, and him and the chair had come in. Oh, yeah. Obviously time to stop shopping. But yeah, most of the time when it's cool, because it is a fairly big van, I could just leave him in the van. He's very happy sitting in the van.
He doesn't cry or
Doesn't cry.
bark and whine when you're
home.
gone.
So I started traveling when he was 6 months old. So this
so
is actually he's more used to that than he is being at home.
Oh, that's good.
Had to teach him when I got to this house, had to teach him how to use a dog door because he'd never used one. So, and he still doesn't particularly like it. It's much more fun to have to yell at me and make me take him out.
Yeah, I was at friend's house the other day, and she's trained her dog to tap on a bell when he needs to go out. So he like hit the bell with his paw. But I was there and he'd already gone potty and he just wanted attention and he was going over and hitting that bell pretty regularly. I thought, oh, I don't think I like that plan.
That's right. Sounds like a good plan, but yeah, the dogs are way smarter than the humans. Like honestly, they are so smart. So anyway, yes, so I leave him in the van when I go, say, grocery shopping or even visiting or whatever. It does stop you going to national parks. So presume you've got those as well, where you can't take dogs into national parks.
Yeah, I don't know well, I know we have a lot of parks where it's leash on, but I don't know if they're banned from the campsites altogether. That would be something I would have to look at. So that would limit the places I wanted to go for sure.
Well, yes, so that's right. There is a limit, but I don't find it that restrictive because there's plenty of other places, and you can't see everything anyway, and so it's like, okay, I have to miss a few places. That's okay. Or sometimes I've been naughty and gone in the van and like leave him in the van and go visit whatever I wanted to visit, and then just come back.
Right. If it's the temperatures are okay and he's fine in there. Yeah.
And because I figure that what they're wanting is they don't want the dog smell out with the animals because the animals would be scared. But if he's in the van, then, they're allowing vehicles into the car park. So.
Yeah. And some of our national parks, you have to drive through to get to another spot. So I imagine in the car would be okay as long as you're not letting him out. I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
I'd have to research
so you'd have to find out the rules.
Yeah.
But most, I think you call them RV parks. We call them caravan parks. They accept them. There's very few of those. Sometimes in holiday season, they sort of say dogs aren't allowed. So just be a little careful. But most of them accept dogs. Traveling with dogs is actually quite common. Even information centers, museums, often they let dogs in. You saw that photo. I went on a paddle steamer down a river, and they actually encouraged the dogs. They actually had a dog ticket. It was free, but they actually had a special dog ticket.
Oh, wow. How cute.
They brought him some water and everything.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
So lots of places accept that we're traveling with dogs and make it part of the travel. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry for that tangent. So tell us a little more about how you decided to go on this trip and how it all worked.
So this trip came about because I belong to an organization called the Camper Van and Motorhome Association, CMCA. I would imagine there'd be versions of that everywhere. So yes, there's lots of different groups. So there's caravan groups, but sometimes even just the brand. So like Jayco is a big brand here. The Jayco group is a caravan.
Yeah, we have Jayco.
You have Jayco. So I just happen to belong to this Camper Van and Motorhome Association. And as part of the association, they have a solos section, like a subgroup called solos. And so that's great because everybody in that is traveling solo. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not married. It just means they travel solo.
Right.
Because some partners don't want to travel and others do. And so they.
Yeah. We have Road Scholar, which is like tours and things here. They are all over international too, but they have a solo section as well. So, and I've thought I really need to sign up for some of those because they're
I've
more
heard of that one.
geared
Yeah, I haven't.
towards science and museums and, things, nerdy things that I like.
Nerdy things that we like. That's right. Well, and that's it, isn't it? It's find things that you like.
Mhm.
So yeah, becoming part of this association was good because I know when I first got my motorhome and joined that group, they have little meetings quite close, and it's a great way to start when you so a lot of people ask me, aren't you afraid? Aren't you worried? Those sorts of questions. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
go to a group that's not far from your home and meet up with people, and they will give you all of the how to do this and how to do that. And
All the
so
ins and outs, huh?
the very first, I bought this motorhome, the one I've got now. This is my second one, but I bought it brand new and drove it to 400 kilometers, I don't know, 300 miles, whatever, to a group. And just before I got there, I thought, oh, I'll fill up with fuel, and could not for the life of me figure out how to open the fuel cap. I just couldn't do it. And yeah, I just drove to the spot and sort of when I got there went, has anybody got one of these? Does anybody know how to open the fuel? And someone did. And then of course it was really easy and I felt stupid, but they went, no, it's tricky. It's, because you don't think about it. And they give you a handover, but the handover is like 2 hours of information. And
Yeah,
it just
something's going to get lost in there.
only some of it sticks in. Anyway, so so join the associations. They're really helpful, even if you don't want to go to all their things. And I certainly don't want to hang around with the people all the time, but it was great. And so they have twice a year, they have big conferences where it's not just the local group, it's it's an Australian-wide meeting. And they have it in different places and they have all sorts of activities and hundreds of people turn up. So
Wow.
I thought, hey, that would be fun. That would be good. And it was in a state called South Australia, which is the middle of Australia. So it's south and the middle. All right. And I live very much on the East Coast and north. So it was a fair distance.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I thought that'd be fun. I'll do a road trip and then added bits. So I thought, well, if I'm going south, I'll visit my children that are south they're sort of southeast. So I'll go visit them. Ended up taking a grandchild down with me, which was haven't done that before. So that was part of why I bought such a big motorhome, was that it's got a second bed.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was why I bought it. So
better take advantage.
And that was really fun. And then obviously visiting my children in Melbourne was really fun.
Yeah,
So.
I bet he'll be thinking about that for a long time. It's one of his fond memories.
Yeah, he was so excited when I suggested the idea. So yeah, he was 6. And so old enough that, and iPads are definitely a really nice invention for something like this.
Yeah, because road trips are hard on kids that age. So that's definitely, yeah.
I said, you can have as much iPad time as you want. So we were driving sort of 4 or 5 hours a day. So a fair bit of driving.
Yeah.
But of course I tried to break it up with, and this trip, of course, because I had him, I had to look for the playgrounds and those sorts of things. Whereas normally I would look for somewhere, a nice cafe. But every time I looked for the playgrounds, we found some amazing playgrounds. Fun. Absolutely. Yeah. Do you know what parkour is?
It sounds familiar.
Sort of like an adventure type thing where they jump and leap. And anyway, some of the playgrounds were set up with that. Some of them even had timers. So you ran and jumped and leaped and did all those things.
To get it in a certain time. And fun.
Time.
That's cute.
So he just loved that sort of stuff.
I bet.
So that was, yeah.
So one question to you, said that you went to visit family, so you took a few detours. You didn't follow the tour exactly. And I know
Mm,
you showed pictures of some temples and visiting some. I think you mentioned to me after one of the episodes we recorded, because that's an important point, is you are remote. You work remote. So
mm.
you didn't totally take off on vacation. You just planned things a little different so that you could continue to work, right?
That's right. Yeah. So I still
That's
worked.
awesome.
I took an amazing invention called Starlink.
Oh,
So Australia has a lot of empty space. It's a little bit like some of the states in America where there's
yeah.
towns, and then between towns there's really not much. And so internet doesn't work because internet only works in towns. It's rare that you'll get it to work.
So there's
And
a
I'm
lot of
sure you've
places
got
you
the same.
didn't have service.
There are a lot of places to do it. But Starlink uses satellites in the sky instead of towers, Wi-Fi towers, and it worked perfect. It was brilliant.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Was
So
it
some people,
expensive? Not too bad. You don't have to tell me the price, but just kind of range of
um,
these.
it's twice the price of your home internet.
Yeah.
So it is more costly, and
Uh-huh.
you have to buy the gear.
I guess you could, as a family, maybe invest in something like that if you want to share it around. Would it work that way?
Yes, it
Yeah.
works because it's like internet where you just pay a fee. It's not like my fee, it's just the fee. So
Cool.
whoever's got the gear can use it,
Can use it.
and
And
the
then,
password.
so you worked off and on. So you planned that into your trip. You went to places you that weren't on the agenda and planned that into your trip so you could visit family. And then I think you were telling me about some of the branches and wards that you went to a while back. Is that which I imagine is a super cool experience too, just to in at least in the areas
I
you're in.
Yeah, I love doing that. There's something really special about visiting small branches. Um, First off, they're so excited to see you.
Yeah, you're a rock star.
um, when I did, Australia's got a little island down the bottom called Tasmania, which is quite
Yeah.
small and yet beautiful, absolutely magnificent place. And when I did the trip around there, I literally planned it so that found where the wards and branches were and traveled for the week and then stopped on the Sunday and went to church and then traveled the next week to the next spot. And that was a great way to travel. This one, because I was in a place where the towns are much further apart,
Hmm.
it meant that I actually had to deliberately drive to a particular town. But yeah, visiting those little branches is delightful. Um, and I hope that my that I was able to add something to them. They're their spirit. They're the spirit
Oh
of the
yeah.
meeting and things.
Yeah.
So um, the faithfulness of the members in those places. So the first one I went to had about 30 people, and so we're talking small, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and they were, and I always message the bishop, there's on Tools, and I'm sure you've got this on Tools as well. You can look up meeting houses, you can
Mm-hmm.
find out the times and where they are. You also, usually they've got the number for the bishop
Mm-hmm.
or the branch president. And I always text them just to make sure the meeting's on at the time that, the
Yeah,
internet's
so
telling
there's
me,
no
and that, they're
confusion.
not at some state conference or something somewhere else,
Right.
so. And so the bishop's always sort of ready to see me,
Yeah.
as well, which is
That's a good tip.
yeah. So tools works really well. It's 100% success rate. So it's
That's awesome.
um and yeah. So you find where the branches are, and you go and but this particular branch, when I went, they had the bishopric were then going off to another. Their district took in hundreds of kilometres, and they were going off to another small town to have another sacrament meeting later in the afternoon with the people who couldn't come. And
Wow.
it's um
That's pretty devoted. I imagine in those small branches, their commutes and the time going just for the leaders would be
How
significantly
on earth they
increased.
manage it? Yeah, but the one at Mount Gambier I went to, his wife was away at a stake meeting. The stake meeting is 5 hours away.
Wow.
So that was where their stake headquarters were. And so, yeah, she'd gone the day before and had stayed overnight. And so that's the sort of stuff
Yeah,
these.
things we take for granted if we're
Mm.
if we have wards and churches and things nearby, temples.
Well, you guys are spoiled.
We are spoiled.
And look, where I live, it's not so bad. I actually, I slept in on this Sunday. I was tired. I slept in and I was like, oh, I've missed my sacrament meeting. And I could just look around and find another one that started a bit later. So
Yeah, that's nice.
it's nice. But yes, these branches, that's not their choice. People are driving a good hour to get to church. And
Yeah.
the headquarters, the district or the stake or whatever can be 5 hours or more away.
Wow.
So the faithfulness, the spirit is strong, because I think in some ways that makes them better Latter-day Saints. The sacrifice, the dedication, the
Yeah.
willingness to serve. Maybe we're missing some of that.
Yeah,
Life's
that's a
a
really
bit
good
easy.
point.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the other one I went to, I have actually been to before, because it's on the way home. And so there's on the way home, there's not many churches. So I stop at this little town called Narrabri, and we're talking towns of only 10,000 people, right?
Uh-huh.
So we're talking small towns in the first place. And
Yeah.
and it's the same meeting. It was something like 3 years ago, and it was still there. And they had a total of 12 people, I think, at their meeting.
Wow. Oh,
They had 2
very
priests.
intimate.
Very intimate. The guy who's blessed the sacrament must have been 110 years old. Like,
Cute.
he was definitely older and frailer. And watching him try and kneel down at that sacrament table was like, oh, maybe there's a rule you don't have to kneel down. Anyway, he did a delightful job, and the branch president was the guy who handed it, did the.
Wow.
But I was talking to the lady who was the
I can't
seminary
imagine
teacher.
singing in those small groups.
Oh, the first one with the 30 people.
Mm-hmm.
What did she do for music? They did have someone playing the organ. She just sang it. No, they had. So the church has facilities for this sort of things. So they've got the hymns recorded in a way that you can copy them.
Uh-huh. Without
So
the
the
words, and then just play the accompaniment.
Yeah.
And that's what they do.
So the first one, it was without the words, and she just used the music. For the second one, they used the words as well, which really helped when it's such a small group.
Yeah.
But the branch president in that he drives 100 kilometers to come to that meeting. He lives 100 kilometers from that meeting.
Wow.
So yeah, that sort of dedication in the families, and I've seen that in so many of these branches. They're really special people, who are so dedicated. So I was talking to the lady who's the seminary teacher. They'd had 3 teenagers, and she'd taught them for the 4 years of seminary. They must have all been about the same age, and they're graduating from seminary. And I'm like, how many seminary teachers can say that their whole class graduated from the whole 4 years?
That's true.
And these kids are 500 kilometers from the next nearest branch.
Wow.
So they didn't know about they didn't even know about FSY, or, they're not getting very much things. And the boy is put his mission papers in. He's off on his mission.
Wow. That's awesome.
And you're going, wow, this is
very cool. I hope he gets sent to some densely populated area so he has some comparisons.
Send him to Utah and he'll just die of shock. He won't.
Or even there's so many places, even Mesa or Gilbert here in Arizona that have, you know, a church on every
Or
corner.
he'll get sent to South Australia, which has its mission goes into the Northern Territory, which is even less densely populated. And
Wow.
as a lot of our native people have little townships. And there was an article recently about one of the towns there that is 100% LDS, one of the little,
Wow. One of the native towns.
one of the
Interesting.
native towns. And they've got
Wow.
missionaries that go there and support them in that. So it's like, you know, there's some amazing stuff happening, and traveling around shows you this, and you get to
Yeah.
meet these people and experience it and be a part of their thing, even just for a short while. And they're so friendly because they're so happy to see you.
That's awesome. And
Um,
I love that, just getting exposure to the different people within the church and different cultures. And I think that's so cool.
and the other bit of that so this is, you know, like we're talking, what does I say, 10 people or so.
Mhm.
The bishop's wife came up to me at one stage and said, "Are you Sarah's mum?" And I went, "Maybe I am. I have a daughter called Sarah, but you know, like it's a fairly common name." Anyway, because I had messaged her husband, he had looked me up on Facebook,
Uh-huh.
and he had seen that she had liked some of my posts.
Oh.
And he's like, "Do you know her?" And she looked at me and went, "No, I don't know her." And then she realized the posts were Sarah's posts about having a new baby.
Aw.
And she had worked with her. They're both
Wow.
chief scientists in hospital, in the pathology labs in the hospitals.
Small world, huh? Very cool.
And she said, so the LDS world and the pathology world, and they crossed. And she was telling me how much she'd enjoyed my daughter. And my daughter doesn't go to church, but she'd said, "Oh, my mum goes to church. Oh, yeah, my mum really liked, you know." And so they had talked church.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
and so she said, "I'll go and tell Sarah how much I really enjoyed working with her and how nice she is." So it's like,
Oh, that's awesome.
isn't it? So you just run into the most amazing people as you travel. Like it's,
Yeah.
you know, and they're the church members. And you know, one of the other experiences I had was I made the decision to go to the Adelaide Temple, which is in this state of South Australia. As I said on the post, we don't have very many temples in Australia, and they're
Hmm.
in the big cities. And the big cities are, you know, 1,000 kilometers apart. So it's, you know, you
Pretty
don't
good
get,
distance. Yeah.
yeah, they're big distances. Anyway, so I thought, oh, this will be fun. And when I was first married, we were sealed in the temple, and we had to go to New Zealand to be sealed. Everybody had to. There's no temples in Australia.
Hmm.
And New Zealand in those days, it was very expensive to get there. And it took us a year to save.
Wow.
It was a major sacrifice to go.
Hmm.
And so to be able to go to Adelaide, and there's a temple right there, like it was very special to go to that temple and see it and
That's
be able to be a
awesome.
part of it. It's not open very often. So again, I had to plan my trip around when it was open. But again, LDS Tools tells you answers all those questions.
Very cool.
And yeah, I had visited a friend in another outback town, way out town. And so I was sort of on my way back to where I was going to meet up with the people from the Motorhome Association. So,
Very cool. There was also another day when we did an episode and you said, I've got to go. I'm going. Were you going line dancing?
oh, yes, yes, that's right.
And that was with the association. So they have
Yes, so
activities.
that's right. So when I finished all my other touring, I got to the Motorhome Association. And as I said, there's hundreds of people there, and they put on activities all the time. So they literally had a big itinerary of things that were on, and teaching you to line dance was one of them. And I have only, sort of seen line dancing a bit and thought, this is a fun thing to do as a solo.
Yeah.
My husband and I love rock and roll dancing. And so I feel a bit sad about doing rock and roll dancing without him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels a bit sad. But line dancing, I thought, hey, I don't need a partner for this. I can just do it. And the guy teaching it was fantastic. And we filled up the whole hall with beginners of line dancing. So I didn't, you're not sort of looking stupid. And then they have dinners and dances at night. And so they were like, hey, we're going to do this particular line dance that you've all learnt. So all get up. And they had a bit of a theme called Pioneers. So everybody was dressed in their long dresses and, cowboy boots and those sorts of things. So, yeah, there was line dancing. There was another one where they did dog training. So they actually have one guy who's a professional dog trainer. And so all these little yappy dogs came along. he did make a comment of like, well, why are they all little dogs?
So they fit in the RV.
They fit in the RV. No, some people take big dogs, but yeah, most of us have little dogs. And he got us all teaching us, well, he says really he's not training dogs, he's really training humans. The dog just follows.
So true.
But I can brag.
I'm a very poorly trained human. Well, Ellie's trained me to do whatever she wants. So it depends on.
Yeah, that's a poorly trained human. I could brag though and say that my dog and I were the best.
Very good.
Because I'm quite strong on believing in dog training, and I want my dog to come when I call him and to be
well behaved, huh?
Well behaved, because I am traveling with him and I am taking him into people's houses and things. So
yeah, it is important. I need to consider that with Ellie because she is only trained to be spoiled rotten.
Mine's spoiled rotten. Where he is. Usually he's sitting lying on my bed, like on the pillow. He sticks his head up on the pillow and, lies there. So, yes, so I have a spoilt dog, but he also knows things like, when he's in the van, he's quiet. He knows that, he's got to wait for me to take him for a walk because he's got to walk on lead for most places you go. You've got to walk them on lead.
Yeah. Ellie doesn't, every once in a while, like in the middle of the night, if she has to go to the bathroom, which is rare, it's usually because I forgot to go out before bed. And she'll wake me up and I'll think no one's out there. And I just open the door and say, hurry out and go. And she looks at me like, where's my leash? I can't go without you. So she usually won't go unless I have the leash on her because she's just used to it now. She doesn't think that's an option.
This is the rules. So yes, it's you do learn that, I really need to make sure I take him before I go to bed so that I don't get woken up. So yes, it was interesting that they had that as one of the activities.
Yeah.
They had a night where they do, like, people put on skits and things. There's some really good funny ones. But I joined a group. We did it's called the Witches Dance, and I have no idea what it was about, but it was just a little dance that they did, and everybody dressed up in these black costumes, and we all made rooms out
for all you know, you were worshiping the devil in a dance.
I could have been doing something really bad, but it was a song in German, so I have no idea. But yeah, I sort of joined that part of the skit. So yeah, important to be sort of join in things.
Yeah.
But then they did winery tours, which I decided not to do, and
makes sense
because it's a big winery area, but I did learn why it's a big winery area. So some of that stuff's interesting, just from why is this, what is it about this area? So
why do the grapes grow different here, the flavor and different things about soils? Yeah.
And they did a trip to an historic house that was just an amazing historic house, like absolutely
nice.
Yeah, they've got wallpaper that's got brass in the wallpaper and it shines.
Oh,
No,
wow.
copper. Sorry, not
Yeah,
brass,
yeah.
copper, and it shines. And they had the old furniture. I got to play this piano that had been like a very old grand piano that's been brought over from England. Can you imagine that? You stick a grand piano on a sailing ship
Yeah.
to
I
bring
I
it from
know
England.
I've wondered about those kinds of things a lot. Like, I can't believe they brought this over.
Yeah, a stained glass window that's like,
Yeah. You
yeah.
wonder how it actually made it safely.
I don't know how people did it. Like, we look back at those ancestors of ours that did those trips and think, wow, that's just,
Yeah.
and then looking at this, like a place like this that's built all of stone. So someone's like dug the stone up, put it into brick shapes, stuck it in, and made this big 2-story house. Like,
Yeah. It is fascinating. I like to learn about those things. That's kind of the concept of the Rhodes Scholar stuff. Yeah.
but the guy who did that house was the one who worked out that the area was going to be good to grow grapes.
Oh, interesting. So,
Yeah. And so he originally in those days owned all of that land. He worked because it's something to do with the limestone is underneath, and then there's really nice soils on top. So wherever the limestone was is where the grapes are growing really well. And so
interesting.
he had a person going around finding where the limestone was and bought up all the land. There was another place I visited that is again well-known winery in the area. It was started by the Benedictine monks for growing their own sacrament wine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so
Very good.
in the Catholic Church, there's one of the newest saints is Mary MacKillop,
Yeah.
and so this was her area that she was working in, and her brothers went to this particular Benedictine school. And
Yeah.
so way back in
Interesting.
the
We have something similar here. We have some that olives grow really well here. And so we have like we've been on a tour through the Queen Creek Olive Mill. But then some of the churches, I think it's a Greek Orthodox church, raised olives and now they sell it in their little gift shop, and they do olive oil that way. So,
and so yeah, driving around and discovering and learning about the history and learning about these places that you might have heard about, but to go visit them, I highly recommend people travel. And traveling solo, which I think is your question, is you know what? I actually start to like it. It's
yeah.
People say, don't you get lonely? It's like, well, the trip was planned so that I travel with a grandchild. That was at the last minute part planned, but I went and visited my daughter, and then I went and visited another friend. And so you're driving, but then you're doing something and meeting people. And so I think to have driven around for 7 weeks completely by myself, going with no particular agenda, would have been. But
Would have been harder.
yeah, but the agenda of meeting family or friends and going to church in between, so you're meeting with people
That's true.
today.
And the group activities that you got to do with the camper
Yeah, that's right.
community was
And
nice
because
too.
the camper community is, everybody was solos, so everybody's wanting to be friends. Yeah, there's some people that there was some people that played card games all day. It's like, no, that's not me.
Yeah.
But there was, a walking group and a bike riding group and visiting these places groups. And so every day there was sort of activities that you thought, oh, that would be fun. I'd do that. And
Yeah,
then
that's
usually a
cool.
dinner of some sort each night.
Yeah.
So yeah. And you're visiting a cute little town that had so much stuff that you possibly would have just driven past.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And even I was going to say the bad things, even the things that don't go according to plan turn out to be really fun. So there was one place I was driving through, and there'd obviously been a car accident just before I'd got there. And the tow truck was sitting in the middle of the road. So the cars was in the middle of the road and the tow truck. And I'm like, And I thought, oh, stuff it. I'll stop here. I'll have lunch here. It's time for lunch anyway, right?
Uh-huh.
It was the best. Like, and we're talking about a town that I couldn't see any other shop other than the cafe that was open, right? There's nothing in this town. So I went into this little cafe. It had the best Vietnamese food I have
Oh,
ever tasted. Yeah,
wow.
Vietnamese food. Like,
Yeah, that's so unique.
they had the normal, fried food stuff, but
Yeah,
then they had this menu of Vietnamese food, and I went, that's different. It was the best.
that's awesome. Yeah, you do get to do little fun discoveries like that, huh?
I said, how does everybody find this? And they said, oh yeah, people come from miles for this food. And so this guy who owns it had married a Vietnamese woman, and so she was doing, and so she had frozen meals that you could take away. So I
Wow.
actually had my meals for the next, like, pure accident that I ran into this little town. It turns out that it's a town that was in one of Australia's famous little TV shows. And so they had all the props for the TV shows. And
Oh, fun.
so when I put that on my Facebook
Yeah,
page,
I was gonna say, I think I saw some of those.
people remembered the TV show.
Very cool.
And the town looks identical to the TV show. So, nothing's bad. Everything's just, and the car accident wasn't too bad. It turned out that it wasn't a bad accident. So I sat out the front and chatted with the people as they're coming, the tow man and the other people, and I learned all about the TV show and being in it and the props that were around, and just chatted to all these people. And
very fun. I think what you're highlighting is the importance of just, being willing to have an adventure or get your adventurous spirit on, but then just being flexible, and it's all about your attitude, right? And because you could allow yourself to be irritated about stuff like that, or you could just embrace it as another adventure to see and meet new people and have new experiences.
Yeah, it's all about adventure. It's
Yeah.
And isn't that what life's really meant to be? Like,
I think it's a big part of my life. I try to make it a part of my life. You're going on another adventure now, right? Is that right?
Yes, I'm off
You're
to
very
an
adventurous, actually.
it's more like, I don't think of these things. Other people do, and I just and I've learnt in life, say yes. Just say yes. And so I'm a little nervous. One of the things I'm very nervous about is I've got to get up at 4:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So I'm very nervous about that.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a sleep-in person. I'm going to an island called Fraser Island, which is I think it's the world's biggest sand island, I think. So but it's a very famous place off the coast of Queensland. I haven't been there because it's a 4-wheel drive only place, and it is a bit of an adventure to get there. And so it was actually part of the singles group, the LDS Singles groups. They're organizing a trip, and one of the guys has been a guide on this island before. And I went, well, that sounds like the right group to go with.
Yeah.
And so I just said yes. And now I'm discovering I've got to get up at 4:30 a.m. to meet the tides, because we've got to do 4-wheel driving across the sand. And I'm going to be sleeping on the ground in a tent. And one of the things our viewers might have heard of is the dingoes. So this island has a lot of dingoes, and the dingoes, when, like many native animals, if people feed them, they start getting to be a nuisance.
Right.
So
like bears for us.
Like bears. Yeah, that's right. So this is our version of a bear. And so the camping ground's actually inside a compound, so the dingoes don't, and there's rules about what to do with your food, and you can't leave it out. And it's like, oh, what have I got myself in for?
Yeah. So do you
Cool.
have to plan all the food and bring all your own food? There's not cafes
This
and
is
things.
fantastic. I gave $400 to somebody and I got told that it's all taken care of. So it's like,
Oh,
okay, good.
so you'll have to report back how your meals were then when we get back.
Yeah. So I am nervous. And so I think that's probably the other message is just because I'm doing all these things doesn't mean I don't sit here, especially the day before going, what have I done? What have I said
You have a
yes
little bit of, you're feeling a little bit of resistance, a little bit of fear about it.
yeah, what am I doing? But it's 4 days. Like, what's the worst that can happen in 4 days? Like
Yeah.
I get to see a place that many people you'll only ever hear of with a person who knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the
That'd be awesome.
opportunity. Yeah.
We want to have you report back, hear about your
And
adventure.
if I get a sore back and stuff, well, I'll get back to my own comfy home.
It's only 4 days. That's what you're telling yourself today,
Yeah,
huh?
it's only 4 days. What's the worst that can happen in 4 days? So yes, I think that's the message I'd like to give people is like, do things that are out of your comfort zone because that's
Yeah.
where the fun is.
Yeah.
Life at home can get pretty stale and boring and
Yeah. Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. So yeah,
That's
be
awesome.
adventurous and say yes and do things and join groups. Yeah, they go to the pub and you think this is not my crowd,
Yeah.
but there'll be people in that crowd that are, that want to go for the walks and want to go to the bushwalks and want to go, there's people
Yeah.
in the crowd that are. And so you won't find them if you don't go.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. That's great advice.
Mm.
So,
And so this is the first time I'm doing one with a whole LDS group. So that will be interesting in itself to see.
so it's LDS singles, or is it just
LDS
LDS in
singles.
general?
No,
LDS.
no singles, except that one of the main guys that I was communicating with just got married. So I was like,
Oh,
oh,
wow.
well, you're no longer single. You can't come.
Unless, of course, you're our tourist guide, and then we'll still let you.
Yeah, they will let you come. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting when I saw his wedding. I was like, hang on a second.
Sometimes you just can't plan these things out. You're the second you decide to embrace your singleness, you get a proposal.
Well, that's it. Yeah, exactly. You never know. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's so true.
There was actually that just reminded me of an ad on one of Australia's tourist sites. It's like, you'll never know if you never go.
There you go. I like that.
So I'm going to Fraser Island, and I've forgotten its Aboriginal. Kagara, that's it. Kagara is what we're supposed to be calling it now. So I'm off tomorrow morning at 4:30 a.m.
We'll put you in our prayers. Well, at least I will. I don't know if I'll have this episode out that soon, but we'll pray for fun and safety.
And safety. The dingoes
And
stay
comfort.
outside the
Comfort.
fence.
Sleeping comfort.
Sleeping comfort's probably the one I'm most. Yeah, the dingoes are definitely that. They can stay outside the fence, but my sleeping comfort is a bigger concern.
I hear you.
All right. So thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about that adventure. It encourages everybody to go on their own little road trips.
Yeah. I think we can do more of that. So we'll talk to you later. Good luck. We'll be sending prayers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.